what my people call this past year? The Long Halloween.
The holiday killer's covering his tracks.
I made him cut a deal. You want Falcone, and I got plenty on him.
Heads, I'll take it. Your father went into business with the Roman, and how many innocent lives did he end up trading for it?
Where'd you find them?
You're not going to like it.
When you were coming up, you wouldn't have thought to hire freaks.
Times change.
It's hard to believe the man who stood on this roof and made that promise would cross the line.
Everyone's invited to this party.
Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder what you're... What is this? Judgment Day.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my new Batman trailer video for the Long Halloween movie they're releasing later this year. It's actually going to be 2 parts, so technically it's 2 movies. But if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There is a lot of Batman-related movie stuff happening in the next year. Also explain what's going on with that brand new Batman series that they just announced yesterday. We have this movie coming, then we have the Matt Reeves Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, then we have Ben Affleck's Batman and Michael Keaton Batman coming back in the Flash movie next year. The Long Halloween Part 1 is coming out June 22nd, Part 2 is being released July 27th, and supposedly when they release Part 2, they're also going to be releasing a trailer for the new Injustice movie that they're making. Even though the Justice League Snyder Cut felt kind of like an Injustice movie, they actually made a legit animated Injustice Gods Among Us movie that they'll be releasing sometime next year, I'm assuming. But if you couldn't tell from the voice, it's Jensen Ackles himself playing Batman, finally. He's actually been cosplaying as so many Batman characters for so many years, he finally got to play Batman. He played a version of Red Hood in the animated Under the Red Hood movie. But in real life, Stephen Amell actually said he campaigned a few years ago to get Jensen to be the Arrowverse version of Batman. Even though they kind of imply that there is a version of Batman in the Arrowverse somewhere, we've never actually seen him on screen, even though they did do a version of Hush, so technically Hush should look like Batman. They have these weird rules when it comes to doing Batman on TV, but some of the Matt Reeves Batman movie with Robert Pattinson is actually inspired by the story of The Long Halloween. They're not doing a copy-paste version of the story, so it won't be the story of The Long Halloween. They'll just be elements from the Long Halloween story that inspire some of the stuff that's going on during the Batman movie. The Long Halloween is this big murder mystery story with Batman, Gordon, and Harvey Dent for most of the story running around Gotham trying to chase down this serial killer that they call the Holiday Killer because they keep killing members of the mob on different holidays of the year. The Batman movie is this big murder mystery that Batman is trying to solve and unravel, and it turns into this much larger mystery. Like in the trailer, you hear his voiceover where he's saying, "How am I connected to all this?" And the Riddler implies, "You'll find out soon enough." It seems like the Riddler's trying to take down this corrupt mayor and all this other corruption in Gotham City, and he's trying to incite Batman to action. There are similar things going on in The Long Halloween, but not the exact same thing, where you have a character who's trying to do good things ultimately, but just doing it in completely the wrong way by going around and killing a bunch of people. The movie is changing some of the events of The Long Halloween. They're not speed running the plot completely, but even though they're doing this as a 2-part movie, there are a couple things that they're not going to be able to do. But that is why they're doing it in 2 parts instead of just doing a 90-minute movie like you would traditionally see in an animated DC film. But this trailer opens with part 2 of the story as Batman is talking to Falcone and then they intercut it with him kissing Catwoman on the rooftops. During the Long Halloween story, it actually picks up with Bruce Wayne dating Selina Kyle, but neither one of them know that they're Batman or Catwoman. They don't know their secret identities yet. It's relatively early in Batman's career, but it's not Batman Year 1. So that is another similarity to the Matt Reeves Batman movie. But through the story, they eventually start to learn more about each other, and then Batman starts to encounter Catwoman, and then their romance as Batman and Catwoman starts as well. You see Harvey Dent still working with Gordon and Batman to find the Holiday Killer, who's continued to leave more clues behind at crime scenes. Holiday goes around mostly just killing members of the Falcone and Maroni crime families in a bid to pit them against each other, create this civil war inside Gotham's crime family so that they'll take each other down. This is Harvey Dent with his wife celebrating. This is Calendar Man in prison again. The reason why Calendar Man is part of the story is because all of the killings that they're trying to investigate, this serial killer they're looking for, kills people on special holidays, something the Calendar Man was known for also doing. But while the holiday killer's going around doing this, he's locked up the whole time, so they know that he's not the one that's doing it. Then they start teasing more of Harvey Dent becoming Two-Face, flipping his coin, making a deal with Maroni crime family to testify in order to get Falcone locked up. Falcone is the Roman that he speaks of in this scene. That's his nickname that they call him. And when he's talking about your parents got into business with him and think about how many people ended up dying, it ended really badly for everyone, he's talking to Bruce Wayne without realizing that he's Batman, because at the beginning of the story, Bruce Wayne is good friends with Harvey Dent, which is why later he tries to help him out as Batman. That's also why Batman tries to fight to save Two-Face, even though Two-Face eventually starts running around committing all these crimes. Like, he realizes that Harvey Dent can be cured of his insanity. But then they follow up showing you Joe Chill killing Thomas and Martha Wayne with the famous Pearl scene and young little kid Bruce Wayne in Crime Alley there. Then you see Scarecrow, Mad Hatter, Poison Ivy. What winds up happening, their involvement in the story is actually only as side characters, even though normally you would think of them as big main Batman villains. Within the Long Halloween story, it's mostly the mob characters and the holiday killer that are the main characters. What winds up happening is that Holiday's plan to pit the major crime families against each other starts working really well, and as things get worse and worse for Falcone, he gets backed into a corner, he turns to Batman's rogues gallery of villains for help. That's what his conversation about hiring freaks is about. You never would have done this before, and he's like, times are changing. So he winds up getting Poison Ivy to go after Bruce Wayne, but as a result of that, he inadvertently winds up taking Batman out of the equation temporarily, which is kind of funny, because if you sideline Bruce Wayne, you also kind of sideline Batman, until Catwoman eventually realizes what's happened and is able to save him. You see Joker show up, Solomon Grundy. Joker is also just kind of a side character during this. He actually tries to go after Holiday himself eventually because he's so pissed that he's being upstaged and thinks there's only room for one maniac in Gotham, and it's supposed to be him. Like, how dare you try to steal my thunder? Then you see the famous scene of Harvey Dent getting the acid thrown in his face, starting his transition to full-blown Two-Face in his origin story. In the comic, this actually happened during the trial of Sal Maroni, who was coming to testify against Falcone with enough evidence to get him convicted. But during that trial, at least in the comic, Maroni throws the actual acid in Dent's face. They might change this a little bit for the movie, but when they're taking him to the hospital, Harvey Dent, he escapes out the back of the ambulance, disappears for a while, then resurfaces later in the story as full-blown Two-Face. This last scene of Two-Face, when he just rolls in with all these Batman villains, is after he's released the prisoners from Arkham Asylum based on the flip of a coin, and he says Judgment Day. That's a reference to him killing Falcone to get revenge for everything, after which he turns himself into Gordon and Batman, because he got everything he wanted. Like, this is all he was here to do, so you can lock me up now. But Batman continues to try and fight for him while he's going around doing all these things and advocate for him, because he realizes that it's his friend, Harvey Dent. He's sick. They can cure him eventually. Just to explain the brand new Batman series that they announced. So yes, Matt Reeves is doing the live-action Batman spin-off series on HBO from his Batman movie with the characters from the Robert Pattinson Batman film. The other really big news, though, is they announced a new Batman series that he's doing with Bruce Timm. So Bruce Timm from Batman the Animated Series, one of the best series of all time, not just animated series, they're actually collaborating to make a new Batman animated series. Now, they didn't say exactly what the story is going to be, or if it's going to be inspired by Matt Reeves' Batman characters, because if you remember the original Batman the Animated Series, that drew a lot of inspiration and tone from the Michael Keaton Batman movies. They even used the exact same theme song from his Batman films. Even though the stories of Batman the Animated Series were completely different from the Michael Keaton Batman stories, it was just meant to be a series that was inspired by those particular Batman films. So I'm wondering if Matt Reeves is kind of doing the same thing with Bruce Timm for his live-action Batman film. Hopefully we'll see episodes next year, but it'll be fun to do videos for that. I wish I could have done videos for the original Batman the Animated Series. Maybe if YouTube would have been around in the 90s. But if you have any big questions about the Long Halloween movie or the live-action Batman movie or what's going on with this new Batman the Animated Series, just leave them in the comments below. The next big thing that's coming up is the Marvel Loki episodes coming to Disney Plus in a couple weeks. I'll be doing videos for all those episodes, so make sure you have alerts enabled for my channel. The first big DC series that's getting that kind of treatment on HBO Max is going to be the John Cena Peacemaker series. It's going to be a spin-off from the Suicide Squad movie that James Gunn is releasing later this year. But all the Peacemaker episodes will start dropping in January, so we won't have to wait that long after the movie to get episodes. Everyone, click here for my brand new Marvel Loki trailer video, and click here for my brand new Marvel Eternals trailer video and Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.